Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be giving my match predictions for the Carabao Cup final. We got the European and the World Champions Chelsea versus Liverpool, one of the title contenders for the Premier League this season. This is set up to be an amazing game, and let's just hope for goals, thrill, entertainment and drama like I always say. But you can probably guess what team I'm supporting, and hopefully Liverpool can take away this trophy and bring it back to Anfield this season. And I know people are labeling it as the Tim Pot trophy. People don't really care about it. It's probably on your least wish list when it comes to winning trophies in a Premier League season. But at the end of the day, if you looked at 7 of the last 9 teams which have won this trophy, they've used this as a confidence booster to build upon this and win other trophies in the same season. We can look at Mourinho back in 2014-2015 when he won the Premier League with it. We can also look at Mourinho in 2017 when he won the Carabao Cup and the Europa League. We can even look at other teams like Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. When they usually win the Carabao Cup, a Premier League usually follows it. So this trophy is very, very important to start to build the hunger for these two teams to potentially win more trophies this season. But before going this video, you know I'm going to say, make sure you guys like, comment and hit that big subscribe button right there, because only like 10% of you guys actually subscribe. So if you consistently watch it and enjoy the content, please obviously hit that subscribe button. However, before I give my actual predictions when it comes to this final, I'm going to be talking about 4 most important factors approaching this game and what's going to decide which team is going to win. So the first factor I'm going to be talking about is Liverpool's attack versus Chelsea's defense. And in the last 6 or 7 games or so, both teams have been in fine form, winning 6 or 7 in a row. So going into this final, both teams should be filled with so much confidence, so much joy, so much belief that potentially they can take this trophy home. But we know both teams usually specialize in these sort of attributes, especially Liverpool going forward and Chelsea defensively. And going into this game, Liverpool undoubtedly are the best team in Europe when it comes to scoring goals. They have scored 63 Premier League goals in the hardest league in the world, and they have so much firepower. We know about the famous trio up front, and then we even got Jota, we even got Diaz as well. Let's see if Jota's going to be fit, obviously. But we've got so much players up our sleeves, up our arsenal, to actually endanger Chelsea and get a goal. However, at the same time, Chelsea defensively have been rock solid. I know second best defence in the league, whatever. Manchester City have the best defensive record. But let's forget about that, because especially in the big games, Thomas Tuchel know how to see a result through. We saw it in the Champions League final last year. We've seen it in glimpses and moments against Liverpool at Anfield. However, it is key to add that Chelsea are missing 2 of their most important players. They got Chilwell injured, and so is James, and they're going to be missing the cup final. And although defensively they still have Thiago Silva, Rudiger and Christensen, I just feel like those wing-back areas is going to be so important, helping those centre-backs out, because we know Mohamed Salah and Mane, the introverted strikers, love to make those runs out to in, and they're going to be so important, the wing backs, when it comes to doubling up these sort of world-class players. We know already that Alonso can be caught slacking, can be caught sleeping, especially on the counter-attack, where we've seen Salah get in behind him at Stamford Bridge and gets a goal, and it's going to be so important that he's going to be switched on throughout the whole of the 90 minutes. Even on the other side, I know Azpilicueta is a leader of men, the captain, rejuvenated his career, especially under Thomas Tuchel. But at the end of the day, Mane should really be fancying his chances, because he's stronger, he's quicker, he's faster, more agile. In a one-on-one competition, he really should be getting the better of Azpilicueta. So are Chelsea really equipped, especially in those flank areas, to really deal with Liverpool's forward players? Especially since we know that's where Liverpool get their most joy, especially when Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold do the overlap on those sides as well. So going into this game, Chelsea are short-handed, and let's see if they have the toughness to deal with this sort of threat that Liverpool do have. However, at the end of the day, Chelsea are Chelsea, and we all know the system is much more important than the individual players. We've seen players like Salah, we've seen players like Chalobah come in, plug in and do a job anyway. So I feel like maybe Alonso, Azpilicueta on those flanks can deal with Mane and Salah just for 90 minutes potentially. And this leads me to my second point. Liverpool can't be thinking, okay, Alonso and Azpilicueta are slouches, especially Alonso, because we've seen them at Anfield, Chelsea, with 10 men for 45 minutes hold on to a 1-1 draw against the best attack in Europe. So Liverpool can't be thinking going into this game that's going to be an easy breeze and that Chelsea's wing-backs aren't going to be able to deal with them, because we've seen Chelsea do this before. They have the resilience, they have the mental toughness, especially in games when they shouldn't be winning. We see them win. We've seen so many games in the Premier League, Even against Crystal Palace, where you're thinking, how on earth did they get away with that 1-0 victory when they barely had any chances? It's because of Chelsea's defence. And at the end of the day, when you're having N'Golo Kante literally being everywhere across the pitch, the gap between the defence and the midfield closing in, there's not going to be much space for players like Firmino, players like Jota or Salah to operate in. That's why I feel like as a Liverpool fan, Liverpool needs to come out the gates fast and put the pressure on Chelsea, not let them get comfortable in their resilient, compact shape and literally spring onto them. Because when we know that Chelsea are comfortable, they built a rhythm and a tone when it comes to defensive style football. It's going to be so hard to break them down. So let's see how both teams, both managers operate when it comes to their defense and their attack. So the next factor when it comes to this game I'm going to be talking about is, do Chelsea start their main striker, Romelu Lukaku, who is obviously worth north of £90 million? Do Chelsea do this? Do Chelsea dare to drop them, actually, thinking like, we spent all this money on a world-class striker and we're not even going to play him in our biggest game of the season so far? Are Chelsea going to put this risk and put him on the bench? Which team would do that? And if you're asking me, I drop him. I don't think he's good enough to start for Chelsea, especially in this game. This game is not tailor-made for him. And this is because of two reasons. Whether or not Thomas Tuchel listens to me or listens to other people talking about this is yet to be seen. But I just feel like if he has the courage, if he has the bravery, if he actually has the heart to do this, I think Thomas Tuchel, this will work in Chelsea's favour. The first reason why I believe that Romelu Lukaku should not start in this game, because we know he's not a big time player. Let's look at his record against the big six. Always plays invisible, never to be seen. When you really need him most, he's just losing the ball, cannot hold the ball up, especially when it comes to scoring goals. He doesn't do that. Yes, against Norwich, yes, against Aston Villa, yes, against these small, mediocre teams. But when the money's on the table, when you push all the chips into the middle, Romelu Lukaku is nowhere to be seen, and that's why Chelsea should not look to start him. He's not no Didier Drogba, he ain't no Diego Costa, he's not of this ilk, not of this stature. So I just feel like Chelsea are playing a massive risk to start Romelu Lukaku, because I just don't feel like in a final he's going to be able to deliver at Wembley. The second reason why I think Chelsea should not start Romelu Lukaku, because stylistically it's been proven he doesn't fit Chelsea's style of play. First of all, we just saw in the Champions League tie against Lille, Havertz, even if the midfielders aren't really creating many opportunities or chances, he will drop in deep, he will link up the play, he'll show his great movement off the ball, try enter pockets of space where it's easier for players like Pulisic to play pinballs into him so they can rotate into different positions. Romelu Lukaku is stagnant, he's a massive block in the middle of the field, and if he's not having his own way, he's not going to try dropping deep, try make sort of runs to try and include himself in the play. He doesn't do this. He just looks like he's not really up for the game if it doesn't work in his favour. I just feel like Havertz up front, more fluid, more movement. I feel like even the pressing from the start, from the front lines, we know Thomas Tuchel loves to implement this. Romelu Lukaku is not that sort of player. He doesn't really do this. He's more of a lazy striker. That's why Manchester United even got rid of him. So honestly, with the way Chelsea line up and the way they favour when it comes to their style of play, I feel like Havertz is going to be a nuisance trying to press the ball on the front lines, especially when Van Dijk and Matip have the ball and causes potentially to literally launch it forward. I feel like Havertz is much more suited to this game compared to Romelu Lukaku. And I know Thomas Tuchel may have rested Romelu Lukaku for the cup final. And hey, I'm not complaining because I'm a Liverpool fan. I already saw Virgil van Dijk and Matip put him in their pockets when it came to Anfield, as even in the first half when they had 11 men. So I'm not going to object to this. But at the end of the day, if I was a Chelsea fans, I just feel like the fluid movement, the elusive quickness of players like Mount, Havertz, Pulisic, Ziyech, whoever starts linking play up is much more dangerous, much more scary as a prospect, especially when as defenders you don't know when to go in tight. But when you have a player who's right in front of you, who's always going to be there, especially with their back to goal, it's much more easier to deal with, and that's what Romelu Lukaku is going to do. So the next aspect of this game I'm going to be talking about is Liverpool's weaknesses and Liverpool's frailties. Obviously, Liverpool going in this game are the slight favourites, but I feel like Chelsea do have a chance if they actually expose Liverpool's weaknesses when it comes to going into this game. And the first weakness I wanted to be talking about is Liverpool's high line. At the same time, it's one of Liverpool's greatest strengths, but also one of Liverpool's greatest weaknesses. The space in behind is just too much. And if Chelsea can make timely passes, timely plays, especially when with those free balls over the top or even on the ground and fizz it, they're going to get a lot of chances if they play it right. We've seen teams like West Ham, Tottenham have so much joy doing this, especially with Son and Kane being the sucker punch they are. Let's see if Chelsea will be able to form their sort of duo or combo, whoever's up front, to deal with this and literally provide the threat in behind. However, obviously Liverpool's high line is so important with the way Liverpool want to play. They literally want to suffocate the opposition in their own half, play so high up on the pitch where literally make sure that they're always on the attack or at least win the ball in high areas. But obviously it comes with some weaknesses which Chelsea will be able to expose. However, I don't know if Thomas Tuchel will do this because Mount, obviously, like I said, resting in the Champions League against Lille. Let's see if he'll start. But Chelsea don't have that many players who are reeling runners in behind. Players like Pulisic, Havertz, Mount, they like ball to feet. Even Lukaku at times, I know he can make those runs in behind, down the flanks, but at the end of the day, these players aren't going to be constant threats. And that's why if I was Chelsea, maybe look to start Timo Werner. Yes, he hasn't been in great form. Yes, he hasn't been starting much, but I feel like Chelsea at their best, when I've seen them, is when he plays, because he's such a team player. He can make those runs in behind and create so much space, especially for those number 10s behind him to pick up the ball and create through passes and through balls. Especially his defenders like Matip and Van Dijk always going to be afraid having their eyes over their shoulders because they just know that Werner's is always going to be a constant threat across the 90 minutes. But obviously this is very unlikely happening. So if this doesn't happen, players like Mount, players like Pulisic, I know you like ball to feet, but sometimes you just got to scare the Liverpool defenders, the Liverpool players, and just make those runs in behind and just give them something to think about. Because if everything's in front of us, especially with Fabinho clearing everything up there with Henderson, we're just going to be able to deal with this. So the second factor where Chelsea can take advantage of Liverpool is from set pieces. Chelsea, along with West Ham, are one of the most dangerous teams this season when it comes to scoring goals because they have such massive physical players, especially those centre-backs going up for corners who are always a threat on every single corner. We've seen Liverpool at times this season, teams against Burnley, teams against West Ham, cause us threats when it comes to putting the ball into the box. I've seen Alisson sometimes flap his arms, not being commanding, not being physical around his box, not calming the players when the ball gets put in the box. So if players like Thiago Silva, Rudiger, Christensen, who have the build, the physicality, even if Lukaku starts, even if Havertz starts, he's 6 foot plus, has been scoring headers lately. So I feel like this is going to be a danger area where Chelsea can be drawing some set plays, especially in training, to bring it into the game when it comes to this cup final against Liverpool. So the last factor I want to be talking about is the midfield battle. And yeah, Liverpool going into this game are relatively healthy. They got most of their key players like Fabinho, Henderson, and you got Thiago if he plays, and then you got Elliott to bring off the bench, maybe Oxlade-Chamberlain, Keita. We got a good healthy squad going in this game, and potentially it may be the deciding factor for winning this game because we know possession is 9/10 of the law when it comes to football. However, unfortunately for Chelsea, they're not in this luxury. We saw players like Kovacic literally limp off in the game against Lille in the Champions League tie in the last 16. So let's see if he's going to be fully healthy going in this game. And as a Liverpool fan, do not wish injuries on anyone. Hopefully he's fair enough to play. But I just feel like if Chelsea start Jorginho, I'm just going to be so excited. I'm going to be ecstatic because I just feel like Jorginho is not one of those midfielders who can take the ball on the half turn, especially when Liverpool love to press the ball on the front foot. I just feel like the pressure is going to get to him, especially when he's facing his own goal. He doesn't have the trickery. He doesn't have the creativity sometimes to pin the ball left or right. I just feel like we've seen at times him get pickpocketed. So honestly, if Jorginho does start with Chelsea, I feel like there's going to be so many opportunities where Henderson or Thiago or any of the midfielders, even the forwards, will be able to put that pressure on him where he'll be giving the ball away in cheap areas where Liverpool, with their 63 goals this season, will be able to take advantage of this. However, if Kovacic does start, it's going to be a massive boost for Chelsea. He's physically imposing, he has great dribbling attributes, he can pick a pass, he's relatively the complete midfielder. Maybe not that world-class level, but he is very dangerous. And we saw at Stamford Bridge, maybe they're running high of emotions because of the Lukaku, the Boku and drama. But at the end of the day, Kante and Kovacic by themselves were literally outgunning Liverpool's whole midfield when we have 3 midfielders. It was a mismatch. And I feel like if Kovacic does start with Kante, their energy, the way they get to the ball, the way they can transition play, it's going to be a massive threat and a massive factor. So the last segment I'm going to be talking about is who I think is going to win, Chelsea or Liverpool, Liverpool or Chelsea. And I think it's going to be a very, very tough game. I think it's going to be relatively close. Both teams are amazing, and on their day, either team can win. However, I'm a Liverpool fan, and I'm not going to bet against the favourites, us. I feel like we have too much quality, too much firepower, and across the scheme of 90 minutes, it's just going to be too difficult for Chelsea, especially missing key absences, to deal with Liverpool's threat. We've seen at times where Liverpool struggled to score goals in the first half against Inter Milan, against Norwich. But at the end of the day, across 90 minutes, it's just too difficult to ensure that we do not get any goals. If it's not Salah, it's Mane. If it's not Mane, it's Firmino. If it's not Firmino, we got Diaz, who just scored a great goal against Norwich. Like, we have so much firepower, and I just feel like it's too much to ask for Chelsea to keep us at bay. I feel like Chelsea are caught in two minds going forward, because if they do play Havertz, they're going to lose that clinical nature of Lukaku, but they're going to have the fluid football to get themselves in good positions to create chances. If they start Lukaku, they're going to have that clinical striker, but I just feel like he's too stagnant up front, where he's not going to be a threat for the majority of the 90 minutes. So either way, it's a lose-lose for Chelsea, and I just feel like Liverpool defensively are going to be able to deal with this whoever starts. I think Liverpool are going to win. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory, potentially extra time, and I think it's Mohamed Salah is going to score the winning goal when it comes to this game.